to the Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today I'm going to be talking about perhaps mixing up your roster of car shows for the year this year. So as you can see, it's started to get ever so slightly brighter out there, and we're now into February, and we can only hope that that means that we're a little bit closer to show season, we're a little bit closer to better weather, and getting the opportunity to get out and really enjoy our cars. And for many of us, it's the sort of time that we start thinking about booking up our shows for the year and thinking about what our calendar is going to look like. And having been, well, this will be my 5th year with a classic car that we're going into now, I know that it can be really easy to fall into this kind of trap of attending the same shows year after year after year, seeing the same cars. And it's fantastic in some ways, in the fact that you get to see same friends, same people that you get to hang out with on a regular basis. But it can get a little bit repetitive. It can mean that you miss out on some really fantastic stuff that's happening out and about, and you might not get to go to all of the fantastic things that you have the opportunity to experience. And so I thought with this week's podcast, what I would do is talk about some really popular, well-known shows, and then suggest some alternatives that you might want to try out either instead of or as well as, and perhaps kind of give your year of motoring this year the opportunity to try a few different things and get yourself out there a little bit more. So I think the really obvious one that you might know is if you enjoy kind of Festival of the Unexceptional, perhaps look into attending Rustival 3. Rustival 3's dates have been announced. It's at the end of August this year, and it was 2 fantastic events, proper highlights of the year last year. A real variety of what you get to see. In the car park, you've got the great location of the British Motor Museum that I spent a lot of time at last year, and really just a fantastic turnout of cars and people, and a really welcoming space. And it really gives you that kind of element of Festival of the Unexceptional, where you get those more unusual cars that perhaps people had forgotten or not thought about. And gives it a very friendly, not that Festival of the Unexceptional is unfriendly, but a very kind of friendly, welcoming atmosphere with lots of other stuff going on as well. But it still feels doable, and I think with the growth of Festival of the Unexceptional in recent years, getting through all of the cars and really properly seeing them all can feel quite overwhelming. But the wonderful Rustival is kind of just at that point where it's really doable within a day, and you've also got the museum to see as well if you manage to get through everything. So a really great opportunity there. So if you've not yet booked in a Rustival event to your calendar, or if you did previously, be sure to keep your eye out for when that becomes available. Now, if you really enjoy hill climbs, so that might be Prescott Hill Climb, Chelsea Walsh Hill Climb, then might I recommend Aston Hill. For those of you who think that name rings a bell, it is all related to obviously the history of Aston Martin this year, and celebrating 100 years of Aston Martin. And for those of you who don't know the history of Aston Martin, it has a very interesting link to a car mark that's very close to my heart in terms of Singer, because the very early Aston Martins were indeed based on Singer motor cars the 10 horsepower from that time. So the Aston Hill event is set to be a really exciting, massive event that's got loads of different variety of cars there, lots of different cars going up the hill throughout the day, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting, different event. There is opportunities, I believe, if you are displaying your car, to take your car up Aston Hill, and I think it's set to be quite an interesting and different event if you're looking for kind of a little bit of motorsport with your viewing of classic cars. It does offer something a little bit more movement based, and I know that some people really enjoy seeing the cars moving and being used as they were intended, and so that fits really well as well. Additionally, if you enjoy that sort of thing, I would look into what the VSCC are doing. They do some fantastic stuff, and recently I saw this event that they hosted during the night, starting at Stonehurst Farm in kind of Leicestershire, doing a load of fantastic trials during the night on the roads around there, before ending up with breakfast at that event. So again, if you're interested in getting out in the cars, enjoying the cars, using the cars for what they're intended for, Aston Hill and VSCC events might well be a fantastic way to get into that. And it seems very reminiscent of, I feel like, what I've read of 60s, 70s, early 80s use of pre-war cars, and just having a lot of fun with them. They also recently had the Brooklands Trials Day, and Tests Day, I think they call that one, and some really fantastic opportunities to see the cars moving as a spectator, or if you're a member and things, get involved and actually use your car in that way, which I think is fantastic. Equally, if you've tried out VSCC trialing, or are kind of thinking about it but would like to kind of get a bit of experience first, perhaps Hero Era's Rally of the Ages might be something for you. The group of Women Drivers Social Club members went and took part in it last year, and it was fantastic. They had an amazing time, and it's a really great initiative to get people out enjoying their cars and trying something new with their cars. So the concept is that if the driver and navigator's age is under the age of, I want to say, 70, and if the car that they're competing in is pre-1984, I don't know if that's a rolling year in terms of it's just got to be a tax exempt one, but if everything meets that, you're free to partake. It's free. There is a cost otherwise, but it is free to take part in a rally starting at Bicester Heritage, ending at Bicester Heritage, some kind of trials beforehand, and then going out, navigating your way round using the maps and getting yourself back in good time to Bicester Heritage. It's a fantastic thing. They have lots of classes for different eras of cars. The girls from the Women Drivers Social Club did absolutely fantastically and had a brilliant time, and have spoke really highly about getting to do that. And so it's definitely something that I'm keeping my ears out for more details of, and they've won quite a lot of awards for what they're doing about getting young people into motorsport, because realistically, if the driver is 50, they could be taking their grandson, granddaughter out with them as a navigator, and getting them out and enjoying the vehicles as well, and making some really special memories. And I think that's such a fantastic initiative, and a great way for people to get involved with using their cars. If you regularly go to something quite small and local, I would recommend switching it up this year. It's amazing how even just moving kind of 20 minutes one direction from the show that you regularly go to a show that you don't regularly go to changes who's there, what cars you get to see, what sort of things are on, and it makes for a nice day out, seeing different cars and getting to talk to different people. Whereas if you keep going to kind of the same village show or whatever, you're probably seeing the same cars. But I find that it's particularly prominent with early stuff. A lot of early stuff, the owners, some of them are like, yeah, chuck it in a VSCC trial and go crazy. Others will only be driving it kind of quite short distances, and so that 20 minutes might make the difference in kind of what of that early stuff you get to see. And if that stuff really excites you, like me, then you might get to see something that you've never seen anywhere else, that only really goes to that couple of shows that are within 20 minutes of wherever they live. So getting that opportunity to try out a slightly different local show on a Sunday afternoon might make all the difference in what you get to see. If you do enjoy those sorts of shows though, there are a few that have got a little bit bigger and more impressive, and I think they're well worth kind of making the distance to. And so looking out for them in your local area. In mine, I know that it's the Kimbolton Country Fair is fantastic. It gets a great turnout and also has lots of other stuff going on as well. But recently, obviously last year, we went to the Bedfordshire Country and Steam show that was held at Shuttleworth, and that was incredible. And whilst we only went for the one day last year, we had such a fantastic time that we are thinking about whether we camp and do the whole weekend there, because it's so much stuff going on, loads of fun, lots of things to see. We kind of whizzed round it, but there was definitely more that could be kind of taken in if you had more time and the whole weekend there. So well worth kind of looking into steam fairs and those bigger events in your local area, and making the effort to go to those as well as switching up what local show you go to. If you enjoy the NEC Classic Motor Show, then it might interest you to know that both the Netherlands and France have their own versions of this, and it can be fun to go along and see what's going on there. I've heard fantastic things about both of them. They've been well reported on in recent years in the UK press, and I think it can make a nice change to make a bit of an event of it, go abroad, see things that perhaps you don't get to see as much of. So in the Netherlands you might get to see some spikers and stuff like that you don't necessarily get to see at the Classic Motor Show in the UK, and really get to explore whatever country's classic car scene that you find most interesting. If you love your French cars, then Retromobile is going to be amazing. If you love your European cars, either of those car events is going to be a really good opportunity for you, and offer something a little bit different to perhaps seeing the same sorts of cars and things at the Classic Motor Show. It doesn't mean don't come to the Classic Motor Show, but perhaps look into seeing one of those as well for comparison. And with how expensive trains and stuff like that is getting, it might work out not that much more expensive when you look into it, when you think about going to one of these events in the Netherlands or in France. If you really enjoy your club rallies, have you thought about joining a club for a car that kind of interests you and going along to their rally? I think most car clubs have a kind of visiting classics section or a non-whatever make it is section, and it can be a really fantastic way to get to know the owners of the cars that interest you vaguely, and have a nice weekend away, doing something a little bit different, and also get a better idea of what it's like to own one of them. You might even get lucky if they've got kind of some drive outs or whatever, that you get to have a ride in whatever car it is that you're interested in, and then you get that brilliant opportunity of getting to know a car that kind of interests you and deciding if it would actually be what you're looking for. So highly recommend. For the cost of most car clubs, you're already getting a fantastic magazine in most cases for less than most magazine subscriptions, and then you get to find out about their events, their local gatherings, and have a little bit more opportunity to go along. And a lot of the time, if you turn up in whatever your current classic is, saying you're interested in learning more about whatever they've got, you'll be so welcomed, because they want to know kind of about your car as well. And so it's a great way to expand your group of people. And also, if you're a car club and you're thinking, okay, how can we bring in new people, doing that sort of thing and welcoming people as guests or as people who are potentially considering owning one of your type of car really does do absolute wonders. We had a fantastic time inviting the young members in the Women Drivers Social Club to the Singer Owners Club last year, and since then one has bought a Singer, and several of them have joined the club with the intent of kind of getting to know a bit more, coming along again to National Weekend this year, and getting at some point potentially a pre-war Singer, which is doing fantastic work for those early cars, and all because there was this welcome, open invitation to a group of people who wouldn't normally be there. I think to finally round this one out, if you enjoy your kind of evening meets or your kind of small local meets, try an early morning cars and coffee somewhere, because that frees up the rest of your day. You're already out in your car, you have your coffee, you wake yourself up, and then look into some local routes that are in the area. I've been doing some great work with Cars with Character, who are an app that does routes that you can kind of go on, and I love the idea of going and having a cars and coffee in the morning, and then going on from wherever that might be for a nice drive that has been kind of planned out for you, or you've planned out, and you get to enjoy your car with whoever you've gone to as well. If you've got a group of friends that you've all gone to that cars and coffee with in the morning, you get the opportunity to go in convoy, and you guys know that I love a convoy. So all in all, it's a great opportunity, and I think well worth looking into. So check out your cars and coffee events, and if you're looking locally and there aren't one, look at the opportunity to put one on. Look if there's any suitable locations and start building that local community around you. It's going to pay you back in terms of friendships and support network and all of those sorts of things. So well worth looking into. I hope that's kind of made you guys think a little bit about your plans for the year and how you might be able to mix things up a bit. I'd love to hear what's your unmissable event for a year, what you're always going to make sure you go to, and potentially what you're maybe thinking about adding to your lineup for the year for the first time this year. I think that'll be a fantastic resource to come back to as I start planning my year. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.